Stay tuned here on It Came From GenX. We're going to talk about the hurricane situation. God bless. We're going to talk about Coolio. We're going to talk about Blues Clues. We're going to talk about robots taking over the world. Stay tuned.
This is an It Came From GenX video.
Hey everybody, it's time for It Came From GenX. Keith Porter here with a couple of morons by the name of Ryan Fisher, aka The Fish, and Michael Skinner, aka Skinbone. And we are once again three. Last week Skinner was out with a little stuffiness, called me sounding like Barry White, but we're glad to have you back, brother. Good to see you, man. What's happening?
Hey, yeah, no, that was a bad week last week, but I'm on the mends. Not there yet quite, but I'm almost, so good to be back.
We tonight, I see you representing Cleveland. Congratulations, AL Central Division champions.
Yes, sir.
All right. And my man Fish, proud to wear that Dallas hat tonight. Wasn't the case a couple weeks ago, but Cooper Rush making you feel good. What's going on, brother?
That's right, man. Cooper Rush 3-0. I'm doing all right, man. So excuse my congestion out there for the listeners and viewers. I picked up COVID and getting over that. So I'm okay, just a little congested. So again, my apologies in advance, but I'm doing okay.
At home for a while, right? Didn't have to go into the office?
I pretty much work from home these days. They had us go in for about 2 weeks for some in-person workshops, and I freaking pick up COVID. So I'm pretty sure I got it at the office. I don't know, but like I said, I'm okay. Very fortunate. It's no, just very minor symptoms.
Well, appreciate you doing the show tonight. We gotta get you guys help. So I cracked my computer screen before the show, so that's the frown on my face. So that's a whole other story. So if anybody's got extra $350 lying around, I could use that real quick. All right, a lot of good stuff to talk about. Bass sports weekend for anybody in the AFC North. Great sports weekend for Fish. Obviously, Skinner's happy about the Indians, but hey, it is what it is. All right, of course, our Buckeyes look great once again, but we'll talk about all that stuff later. Fish, tell them where they can find the show.
All right, you might be listening to us on demand on your favorite podcast platforms. Just pull up wherever you listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, wherever. Just search for the It Came From GenX podcast. Give us a subscribe or follow. As we post new episodes weekly, they'll pop in your podcast feed free of charge. Watch us on the Boss Code Media TV network. It's an app you can find on your smart devices and your portable devices. Pull them up, Boss Code Media app, and give us a subscribe there. Plenty of original content, including our very own It Came From GenX channel, where we post a lot of our videos in there. Also, you can watch us on YouTube. Full videos are there and all kinds of good stuff there. Find all social media links in two main places. Our Linktree account. Just Google Linktree. It Came From GenX. It's simply a page with links to our social media, some places you can listen to us, etc. Excuse me, my voice cracks like Bobby Brady there. Or our website, it came from genx.wordpress.com. All your information's there, links to videos, episodes, promos, etc. And if you choose to be a sponsor, find us on patreon.com/itcamefromgenx. Tell a friend, like, share, subscribe, follow. That's how we grow out there, and we appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Yes, we do. And Fish, you and I mentioned this last week, so I'll just say it again with Skinner being here. We want to say a sincere thank you to Christopher's Dominic for a great ride on the radio, WMBU.org, no longer. Man, we appreciate everything that you did for us. It certainly elevated us, as a show, and we appreciate everything that you did for us. So thank you very much. Hey, this show, our podcast, is produced by none other than our own Michael Skinner's son, Michael Skinner Jr., aka the Boss, and we want to thank him big time. He does an excellent job. Video, our video production is just, I think, is absolutely awesome. And our own Brian Fisher does those, man. And what a great job he does, all the detail and the clips. So thank you, my man. All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, let's get this thing cooking. We got stuff to do. Real quick, I got to say happy birthday to my son, my only Steel Rain Porter, who turned 25 Saturday. Love you, and really proud to have you as a son. All right. Hey,
Absolutely.
Very good. Happy birthday.
How
Along
about
along with the birthday wishes, Mama Dee Dee's birthday was yesterday.
Oh!
Marcy's mom, she turned 60-something yesterday, so.
All right.
Thanks for telling me.
But, all right, so this segment brought to you by Bosco Media. You guys hear about Elon Musk brought out the Optimus robot on stage this past week. I think it happened on Friday. The robot walked out on the stage, looked around at the audience, and waved. And that's about as far as it got as far as what he's able to do. So it got mixed reviews. Optimus is a humanoid robot. He slowly and awkwardly walked on the stage, turned, waved to a cheering crowd, and then pretty much, like I said, that was the end of the show. Very raw prototype for this. They had a second one that came out on stage, but that thing didn't walk. They had 3 guys had to carry it out on the stage. Did a couple of different things other than wave, but they're still a ways away from getting this going. But man, robots, we saw that in the Jetsons commercial cartoons, and here we are 2022, and we've got Elon Musk walking around, and we see it in the movies. You see iRobot with Will Smith, you see RoboCop from back in the day. Trying to think of some of the other ones that you just sit and go, wow, this really could possibly happen someday. And here we are in 2022, and we're there. Not quite there, but his goal is to have 2 million robots in production at about 20 grand a piece for everybody's able to afford it. Now, 20 grand to us today may be pocket change 10 years from now. Who knows with the way the economy is. But, it's tough to think about it. It's mind-boggling for me at 50 years old to say it's here. When we've been... Say that again?
Do they take trade-ins with kids?
Yeah, no kidding, right? My robot will be free with as many as I have running around here. You
might get a kickback.
Right. They may give me a refund, right?
No, you $7 grand, Mr. Skinner. I tell you what, Skinner. You said they're not where they want to be. I'm willing to I dare to say that they're probably more advanced than they've let on. And possibly. Remember, it was just last week or week before last, we were having this conversation. I was talking about art imitating life and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Every time we get something in technology, believe me, it wasn't like somebody said, hey, I just invented something, and then next month it's out. That technology has been out by the time it's presented to the general public. Right. And you have to warm people up to the idea of certain things, especially something as huge as this. And there's some video out, I don't want to say it's real. I don't know. But there are some very compelling video out of certain people, famous people, and they look like freaking robots. And it's like, wait a minute, and people, talking about they've been, if not replaced, somebody sat in their place or something. And then I seen that video you were talking about, and I'm thinking, man, if this is what they're showing us, they probably got something even more advanced than this. it is really, really kind of unnerving. And you see movies like I, Robot, and there's millions of them, where the robot becomes self-aware, or artificial intelligence. And I tell you what, man, I think we're knocking on that door right now. Now, the idea of robots has been around since what, 50s?
Yeah, something like that. 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, but they were big, moving square things or whatever. And we had the day the Earth stood still and all that stuff. But right now, humanoid-looking robots, and that's all most frightening. We got people looking less human and more robots looking more human nowadays. I tell you, pretty scary. Fish?
Yeah, technology is pretty amazing. So we mentioned this before too. There's a 60 minutes special like within a year or so ago. We looked at it. Just look up robots 60 minutes, and they show these are the robots. They taught these robots how to dance. It's pretty amazing stuff. They're doing like the mashed potato and all kinds of, but they're making they're going to add some value to. Go ahead.
Were they white robots?
They were actually white robots. Yeah, believe it or not. Yep.
So
yeah. No, they're actually quite. The rhythm was actually pretty good. Not unlike not they weren't white dancers with Cher level. But they were. It's pretty amazing technology there, and they're using them more like in the police force and the military and stuff. So that could be some of the way that we see some of these robotics go as well. Maybe there's a time where there's more and more robots fighting some of these battles versus humans out there getting killed and stuff. I don't know. But like I said, the technology is pretty amazing. I don't necessarily worry about the awareness like the Terminator and stuff like that personally, but it is pretty fascinating what they're coming up with these days. Go ahead.
Oh, you mentioned save lives and replacing human beings. I get that part. And I'm not even thinking as far as things like, science fiction, Terminator, things like that. But fear is, and the biggest fear is replacing human jobs.
Oh, yeah. And that's definitely going to happen.
With just computer technology. So now just replace the actual body of a human being too, I mean, look at what happened in the sanitation industry over the last few years. That was one of the few career choices that an uneducated, when I say uneducated, I mean without a college degree, person could have and make a decent living in this country. And now that's stripped away. You used to have 3 or 4 guys on a truck, and now you got 1 or 2 guys because you got this computer arm that reaches out and dumps it in the garbage. So I think that's the biggest fear, Skinner, that we would have to worry about as far as this technology is concerned.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I agree with you.
Wouldn't surprise me going to a fast food place someday and you have maybe one person in there and robots, just for instance, doing everything else in there, making the food, those type of jobs to where you don't need to really think a whole lot necessarily. It just, you could program stuff and automate. They're going to be automating as much as they possibly can. Like you say, assembly lines, Amazon already has a bunch of robots. It's going to be more and more and more of that type of stuff. You'll need people to help maintain and fix them. So it's probably going to open up another career path in that respect with engineers and robot technicians or what the hell what they'll have. But you're right. It's definitely the wave of the future. It's not going backwards. That's for sure.
Hey, Fish, maybe if we save up and put our money together, we can get a robot to do our outros.
I like it. I like it.
I got you.
You got anything else for us to say, Skin?
Well, we'd be remiss not to talk about what happened last week down in Florida. First of all, on behalf of the show, our thoughts and prayers go to the hundreds of victims that have lost their lives. I shouldn't say hundreds because they're in over 100, but the millions of people that lost power, the hundreds of thousands of people that have damaged property from the catastrophic hurricane that came through just north of Naples, Florida on, I think it was Wednesday, the 28th. My brother-in-law, David, which you guys have met, Marcy's brother, lives south and west of Orlando. And the eye went actually right over top of them. But they were, at that point, it was considered a tropical storm. The winds were only 85 miles an hour. When it hit the shore, it was upwards of 175 to 180 miles an hour. And then you had 10 to 12 foot surges, water surge, which just decimated everything in its sight. So, again, on behalf of the show, our thoughts and prayers go out to them and a speedy recovery. We've talked about, if you've ever been part of a catastrophic storm like a tornado, we did a little bit about that. But can you imagine a hurricane? Not only did this hurricane come in through the Gulf Coast, went over through Florida, and then went back out into the Atlantic, but it went from a tropical storm inland back to a hurricane status, and then it decimated South Carolina.
Wow.
Not quite as bad. It was only I think a Category 1 when it hit South Carolina, but it tore up Myrtle Beach in that area pretty well too. So just amazing phenomena that happened over the last week, and I feel so bad for those people that have been displaced and lost everything in its path.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week a little bit, and Fish and I were just kind of marveling at the I guess dichotomy, if you will, of all those who could not get away, versus a story that I read, them relocating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and how simple it was. If you're on the Buccaneers, you could have a house down there, a mansion. It doesn't matter. Boom, easily get you on a plane, get you out of here. It's like, wow, it just kind of makes you think about our priorities. Let's make sure our football team is safe, moved out of the way, and then versus people who had to suffer and lose so much, including their lives. So definitely our prayers are out to them.
Absolutely. No more to add than that.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that Tampa Bay Rays, the baseball team in the area, they were actually in Cleveland when that hurricane hit. So thankfully they didn't have to be displaced over others but they played their last home game, I think, on Sunday, and they finished out the season on the road. So
okay. Yeah.
It doesn't help their family because their family's stuck at home, but at least they were able to be on the road on the play. So speedy recovery. That's all I can ask for the rest of these people.
Skinner, man, good to have you back, brother. Okay, guys, ready for a little sports and music?
Let's do it.
Start off with some sports. And I mentioned our Ohio State Buckeyes had a terrific game against Rutgers last week. Continuing to exercise all those fantastic receivers. And we had a little bit of action late in the game with the Buckeyes up by 39 points. What looked like a fake punt attempt, which really wasn't. It was the punter reading the coverage. He's like, hey, mama didn't raise no fools. So he took off running and got a first down. And Rutgers head coach, former Ohio State Buckeye assistant, lost his stuff, man. And he made it all the way over to the other sideline. And he pointed his finger, began to yell. And Ryan Day wasn't having any of it. And we thought we were about to have a nice little coach fist fight here for a minute. Of course, the two known each other for years, respect each other, met in the middle of the field. It was all good and respect, but it looked pretty heated for a moment. So, man, it just got me thinking of some of the great fights or almost fights in sports, guys. And I was going to ask you, what two sports figures would you like to see fight, or what fight do you remember in a sporting event that has stuck in your head for all these years? And I'll go ahead and go first because there's one that I will never forget. I think it's the most significant of all of them. And that was back in 2004, November 19th, the Malice in the Palace. Mm-hmm. Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. And man, that was absolutely awful because fans were involved. And I think this was the beginning of a lot of fan involvement. We're seeing more and more of it today. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but allegedly a fan hit Ron Artest with a cup of something while he was laying on a table, which I don't know why he was doing that. And man, Him and a few other players went up in the stands, and pandemonium broke out. There were multiple lawsuits, multiple suspensions, multiple fines. This could have been a lot worse than it was. A kid could have been trampled over. An old lady could have been knocked over. It was really, really bad. And I think that was probably maybe the worst fight, I would say, in sports history because of the possibility of fan involvement or fan injury, if you will. You remember that fight, Skinner?
Oh, absolutely. Like it was yesterday. I remember watching it the next day over and over and over again on ESPN. And at that time, YouTube was starting to put a lot of videos up as well. So, yeah, as far as overall, that's probably the worst that I've ever encountered or seen. I don't say firsthand because I wasn't there, but in my lifetime, as far as sports, one that comes to mind for me, I'll just go ahead and take the reins on this one. You guys ever watched the Robin Ventura charge the mound on a 46-year-old Nolan Ryan?
I was just thinking about the same one. Yep.
You got to look it up on YouTube. A 46-year-old Nolan Ryan is standing on the mound, and there comes this young punk Robin Ventura, and he got his butt handed to him. Let me tell you, Nolan Ryan just knocked his butt out. Yep. I'll never forget that for as long as I live. Being a baseball fan, that's one of those. But yeah, it's the Robin Ventura, Nolan Ryan fisticuffs.
Funny you mentioned that. It reminds me of who was that? Who attacked Ron Zimmer?
The Yankees and the Red Sox. I forget who that was that did that.
Was it Pedro? Anyway.
Oh, Pedro Martinez. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Of course, Zimmer kind of got in his face first, but he was an old man, and that just really looked bad on television. Well, that reminds me of Vince. What do you think? Or do you have a fight or a couple of athletes or teams you want to see duke it out? Go ahead, buddy.
Well, first of all, that Malice in the Palace. I may have mentioned this before, but that Netflix has a documentary series, Untold. I mentioned a couple of those already. That's one of them. It's on Netflix. Is about the Malice, and they interviewed some of the players today and stuff. Pretty interesting. I started to watch that recently, so go check that out on Netflix. I remember in the early '80s, it made a lot of news that when Larry Bird and Dr. J got into some fisticuffs. So apparently there was a game where Larry Bird was just constantly trash talking Dr. J, and there was a point where Dr. J just kind of lost it in Boston Garden to boot, and they got into a little scuffle, and then they eventually when they met again on the court, they shook hands and all that. That was kind of the end of it, but that was kind of a big deal. That was two of the bigger NBA stars of the time getting into fisticuffs. That was something else.
There wasn't a bigger star back then, say for the Lakers stars, but yeah, that was a big deal, man. Dr. J was a very, very well respected, and Larry Bird was really well loved, and it's been documented. He was like the biggest trash talker.
Oh yeah,
know it, lips and stuff you say, but every player from that era tell you, man, he didn't care who you were, man. He was just the most classic lines too that I've heard him tell players and taught players. So yeah, that was a really big deal. So. Glad to see it didn't come to blows, but it would have been must-see TV for sure with Ryan Day.
Yep.
Also, guys, in sports, little story been going around social media involving I'll say disdain for Kansas quarterback Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes. And I got to tell you, I understand where it's coming from. This is the most annoying person on social media. If she was my wife, we would have a problem with her acting like that. Not just her, but his brother too. But that's another story. So that's got to be hard on somebody who's loved like Patrick Mahomes is. His game the other night or last night was unbelievable. He's a superstar, and to have people dislike your wife and all these dirty things going around social media. I would never say anything, derogatory about her on social media, but a lot of people are doing that. And it just got me thinking, man, there's been a lot of, whether it be a wife, a husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, or sister, of celebrities who have really kind of messed things up for that celebrity in history. And I thought it would be cool if we could talk about some in the past that we thought. So I'm going to just go ahead and get the list started and just ask you guys if you remember this. Fish, do you remember Bubby Brister's mom?
I remember Bubby Brister, but not his mom necessarily.
And I got to be honest, she didn't really do anything wrong. But when Bubby Brister had his small moment with the Pittsburgh Steelers playing quarterback, the camera was always on his mom. It became like a pop culture thing. And she just became annoyed to people, and she didn't even do anything wrong. But I'll never forget every game, people just complaining, why do we always got to look at Bubby Brister's mom? My number 4, and this is a little bit for my time, but the stories I've read, you can't help but not like her. Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
Beatle lovers can't stand her. They give her a lot of credit for breaking the Beatles up. Even for the Beatles have said certain things, so she's definitely on my list. And number 3, I tell you what, I saw the portrayal of her in the movie, but even in real life, I thought she was nothing but a straight up gold digger. And that was Robin Givens when she was married to heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. I thought he messed his mind up even more than it already was. And she walked out of that relationship with a lot of money, kind of leaving him to his own peril. Number 2, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chrissy Teigen. She is the wife of singer John Legend.
Can't stand her.
Celebrity in her own right, model, singer, whatever. John Legend is a very well respected guy. He's a great singer. He's on the show X Factor. He's one of the judges, and he's wrote one of my favorite love songs of all time, "All of Me." And every time his wife gets in front of a camera, not now, but lately, I think she's cleaned her act up. She was drunk. And it was very embarrassing. I hated her doing him like that. And he comes off as such a classy guy, too. And she just was like a real slosh. And, of course, my number 1 is Wanda Durant. That is the mother of NBA superstar Kevin Durant. I don't think anybody's mother should be speaking up, defending their son, a grown man, NBA champ, scoring champ, MVP, and every time somebody in the media has something negative to say about Kevin Durant, even though most of it's been true, she's in front of a camera chewing that person out. And I really can't stand Stephen A. Smith anymore, because Stephen A. Smith said something about Kevin Durant's personality. He was dead on the money, and his mom came on ESPN and lit Stephen A. up, and all he did was apologize to her. I would have told her to go kick rocks, but hey, that's just me, pastor. But Fish, anybody you can think of, relative of a celebrity that just annoyed you?
I got a couple on here. So Kanye West, honestly. So it's just the spouse of obviously Kim, or ex-spouse of Kim. That's the whole thing, man. It's just like I when they broke up, he just acted like a real tool. I just think it's an embarrassment to his family and his kids. I mean, she should be able to date anybody she wants to and stuff. It just makes him look bad. He's going to look like a jealous. The guy's super talented dude. He's got tons of money. Just move on, man. To do it for the respect of your. That's the whole other thing too. When you have kids and you're publicly embarrassing yourself and your family and your kids, that's a whole other.
I agree with you.
Level. So, and one that annoyed me. This is from 90s. It's just. I was thinking of just spouses that were annoying and just looked bad and that type of stuff here. I remember when Anna Nicole Smith, now she's no longer with us.
Right.
When she married that 89-year-old dude, that J. Howard Smith, that billionaire oil guy.
For love.
There's been a couple celebrities like that too, where it works, out both ways, where some young person marries an older rich person. It just looks weird. It looks disgusting, and you're clearly just in it for the money. That's just a bad look for
Yep. Look,
anybody in the public eye.
Yeah, and to hear her defending it, talking about, feelings were, and I mean, stop it. Just stop it. I have more respect if he just came out and said, yeah, I'm ready for the money.
Yeah, it's weird. It's creepy. I don't know. And another one, too, is the ex-wife of Phil Collins. So the great Phil Collins, who from our generation. Every time I see her, and it's just like she really raked him over the coals. Now, again, probably stuff works both ways a little bit there, but I think it's Oriane Sevi or something like that. So just, I don't know. Guy's got health issues and everything else. It just seems like I don't know. That type of stuff just bothers the crap out of me when one seems to be taking advantage of the other, that type of stuff. That's a couple that, and Britney Spears' dad, that's one more for you. Britney Spears' dad, whole control over her finances and all that, it just looked bad, got a lot of bad publicity. Eventually got her out of that situation with all the bad publicity, I think. But that was another one that came to mind. Go ahead.
No. Did you see that?
Say again?
Her kids were speaking out against her. Like
really?
Stay with their father, Kevin Federline, and they were on TV. I saw it, dogging her and defending her father.
Huh.
Yeah, that's rough, man, when your kids do that to you.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's a couple that come to mind, Keith.
Good ones, man. Thank you. What do you got, Skinner?
First one on my list is early on Gloria James.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, when LeBron first came on the scene.
Oh, yeah. That's another one. Yeah.
Say that? I still didn't catch you.
I said that was a great one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No.
Yes, somebody got a hold of her and said, "You gotta." Maybe LeBron said, "We gotta get you out of the limelight here." And she has been out of the limelight, I think, for some time now. But
to her
it was
credit,
a big deal.
We've not heard her name in quite a long time.
That's right. That's right.
He used to go to the same hair salon as my mom, and my mom would tell me how she would be sitting up there bragging about all this money, whatever. And my mom said she wanted so bad to tell her, so you didn't earn that money, your son did, But I'll never forget the game when she was when LeBron got into a fight and she was about to jump on the court and the camera was right on LeBron's mouth. And it was like, sit your A down. I'm like, wow. And we haven't heard a peep out of her since.
Yeah.
Another one I feel bad for, Dennis Quaid, his brother Randy, who was a drunk. And used to just tear up that that Quaid name, because Randy, when he's not drunk, he's actually a pretty funny guy.
He's hysterical.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the drinking got the best of him. And another one that drove me nuts is Courtney Love. Wasn't a real big Cobain fan, but I couldn't stand Courtney Love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the last names I have on here is any Kardashian or any Jenner. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, you can like go dark and hit either one. It doesn't matter, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so we it's tough. You have to think about, man, if I was famous, is there anybody in my family I wouldn't want the world to know about? You know what I mean? So oh well, it is what it is. Okay,
sorry, Pam.
You're gonna pay for that, right? That's on record. Yeah, that's on record, buddy. Pam's going to strangle him. All right, guys, did a little bit of music stuff. This day in music, couple of tidbits here. This was the day in 2013. The family of Michael Jackson, they lost a negligence case against concert promoters, AEG Live, over the death of Michael Jackson, died at 50 years of age. The jury concluded that the doctor looking after him ahead of the concert tour was not fit for his job, and AEG was not negligent. Of course, there was this whole thing where Jackson thought he was supposed to do after getting 15, 20 concerts, and they signed him up for 50 or something ridiculous like that. but you knew when he passed away, it was going to be everybody trying to get some money off of his name some kind of way. Oh, interesting. And I think we read this before. Has it been a year? 2011, according to New Scientific Research, Queen's "We Are the Champion" was found to be the catchiest song ever written. Think about that for a minute. We are the champion. Do you agree with it? And if you do, why? And if not, can you think of anything off the cuff here might be even catchier? Fish, you agree with that statement?
I mean, everybody knows the lyrics. I mean, you hear it at all kinds of sporting events and all that. So, I mean, I guess everybody, I'm equating it to our generation and stuff, but very easy song to learn. Obviously, got some extra notoriety in the movie with all the Queen music and everything. So, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. I can understand it. If it's the most, it's got to be up there, certainly.
Yeah, of course, it has meaning to us in band when we would, dominated the competition.
Sure.
That was the song played, and the song is associated with being a winner, and
Sure.
I think that adds to its popularity. It has that good feeling to it. It's a very emotional song, and I can see that. Man, the most popular. I have to think about that for a minute. There's got to be something more popular. That kind of caught me off guard, so I can't think of anything offhand. Skinner, what do you think about that, man?
I could see why. Like you said, it's associated with winning, and today's society, especially in sports and music, it's all about winning. So yeah, it's not a far stretch. But yeah, I really don't have much other to add other than it's not. I don't think it's a far stretch for it to be the number one.
No, it's not a far stretch. But I think about things back in the day. The Motown era, the early rock and roll era. Even Elvis stuff. Or Chubby Checker, the Twist. Things like that. So I don't know, man. I have to really look into that. Very, very interesting.
That song is definitely transcended, though. I mean, it's still popular to this day. And "We Will Rock You's" up there too, probably too. Frankly, Queen.
Yeah. Yes. It definitely is. Okay. Also, guys, this day in music. Hold on, I lost my notes here. I think a song one of my bands wrote is pretty popular too, but we'll get into that another time.
Tens of people could recite it for you right now.
Yeah, okay. All right, continue with this day in music. I actually saw a Chubby Checker story. But Tom Jones, 1999, went to number one in the UK album chart with the song Reload. He was the oldest artist at that time to score a UK number one. Now, that was 1999. Tom Jones actually still performs today. And he looks great. Women still love him. He was not too long ago on the what's the singing show? Not X Factor, but is it X Factor?
The Voice.
That's one of them.
Voice, the Voice. I don't know. I think I said X Factor earlier too, and I meant The Voice with John Legend. But yeah, he was on The Voice not too long ago. I remember he sang on there. He sounded great. He looked great. He's 82 years old, and still awesome. Still, what we say, got it, guys. What music artist that's been around a long time that you could think of that still got it today? And I'm gonna name two right off the bat. He obviously had some issues with his mental faculties, God bless him. But the great Tony Bennett, not too long ago.
I was thinking that too. Yep.
Yeah, Lady Gaga, and just fantastic job. And I thought she was very gracious how she dealt with him on the stage. I thought it was awesome that they let him perform, and he did an awesome job. And I got to tell you, at 86 years of age, my uncle, the great Sam Moore, Sam and Dave, his voice sounds like butter. It is amazing to hear him sing. He does a few things here and there, And I thought he would be definitely high up on that list. Skinner, anybody can you think of up there in age still got it?
You know, people might say I'm crazy, but
Yes,
yeah. Ozzy Osbourne still has it.
There you go.
The man can't speak a lick, but you put a microphone in front of him with music behind him, and the man can still sing.
New album just came out.
I agree.
Have you guys listened to the new album? It's pretty fantastic, truthfully.
Oh, I have not yet. You should 19 or something like that.
Yeah, I've got 2 songs downloaded, and the rest of it I've listened to, and it's can't even tell that the man almost lost his life.
All right, 1991, MC Hammer offered $50,000 reward for the return of Michael Jackson's white glove. It was stolen from the Motown Museum. It was part of an ongoing battle between Hammer and Michael Jackson, which of course was kind of highlighted in Hammer's video, Too Legit to Quit, with James Brown. And also, man, birthdays today, guys. This is going to bust your head. Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee turns 60 today.
Yep.
That's amazing.
The guy that got me going, started playing rock drums, is 60 years of age. I believe he was 18, I mean, maybe he was 17 when he started with Motley Crue. Man, been an unbelievable journey with those guys. Their story's been well documented, and of course they're still touring right now.
Yep.
On the stadium tour, still going. When was the first time you heard Motley Crue, and what memory that you might have, Skinner?
Oh, good Lord. The memory I have is listening to probably Smoking in the Boys' Room and listening to my mom yell at me in the background. What the hell are you listening to, son?
Later in their career.
What's that?
So that was later in their career then?
Yeah, that was later because, it Shout at the Devil and some of them other ones that they were very controversial when they first came out. My mom would have had no part of me allowing that.
I was in junior high and went over to the house of a guy, I don't know if you guys remember him, by the name of Kevin Furr.
Yeah, I remember Kevin. Sure. Yeah.
And he put on that Shout at the Devil album. I was like, dude, let me out of here with that demonic crap. Scared the crap out of me, man. I'll never forget that. Finish what your memories you got.
The late Todd Hammonds, when in high school, one of my best friends in high school, since passed away, but he had everything back then. He had that album. I'm sure that's where I heard it for the first time over there, and then certainly watching them on MTV was like, what in the hell is going on here? They had and it's all gimmicky, and they used the pentagram as a gimmick and all that crap, but still, they were definitely shocking looking on purpose. They sounded great. It was a whole different vibe. I liked them right away. I thought they were pretty cool. So I became a fan ever since. Go ahead.
I never seen anybody play drums like that before. He changed my entire trajectory of my entire career. And of course, that stuff was all a gimmick. If you don't believe it was a gimmick, look at their next album and all their next wardrobe. They went straight from the leather, the chains, the lipstick, the dark eye, pentagram. They went straight to sequins and satin and sparkles. And of course, started something that changed the course of heavy metal music forever, the heavy metal ballad. Everybody after Home Sweet Home said, we got to have a ballad. The ballad brings in the girls, the guys follow the girls, and that's when heavy metal start ruling the world and packing arenas. So happy.
But Tommy Lee, man, just real quick, I'm sorry. One of the greatest talents and drummer. Not too many guys as a drummer became a showman. He took that to a whole other extreme level with the flipping drum sets and the roller coaster he had, and he just did all kinds of crazy stuff over the time, and still could play his ass off even today. So just incredible talent.
Yeah, and I can't stand the drum sets and stuff he plays today. I wish he would get back to playing, something that looks like something. He's playing all kind of weird stuff. He's experimented, but he took drumming in the show to a whole nother level, man. Big time. Happy birthday to the world's greatest lip syncer, not named Milli Vanilli, Ashley Simpson. Happy birthday, India P, Gwen Stefani, and also to one other, Stevie Ray Vaughan, one of the greatest blues guitar players of all time. So we want to say happy birthday to him. Also, another guitar player, Lindsey Buckingham, has a birthday today, born in 1949. So that's it for sports and music, guys. Let's get some culture. Fish, take it away.
Oh, what a meal, oh.
Hamburger helper lasagna.
For your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty robusto. But not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger helper lasagna turns your plain hamburger into a delicious Italian meal with authentic Italian taste. Curly Italian noodles, rich tomato sauce, and a better blend of spices.
Hamburger helper. Lasagna. Helper, hamburger helper. Make a great meal, oh.
All right. Let me start out, guys, with some Gen X media recommendations. Anything you watched, seen, heard that you'd like to recommend out there for our fans? Skinner, why don't we start with you? Anything interesting you want to recommend?
Well, it's funny. I was talking about Nolan Ryan earlier, and I made a post on my personal Facebook page. Facing Nolan. It's a documentary about Nolan Ryan. Where he came from and where he's at today. Absolutely riveting, hour and 45 minutes. If you're half a baseball fan that I am, I highly recommend you going and seeing that. Then Miss Marcy and I last night actually watched a movie on Netflix. It's called Last Seen Alive. It's a movie with Gerard Butler and Jamie Alexander. She's been in a few things, but she gets kidnapped at a gas station, and I won't go into it. It's a great story. Pretty good movie. Recommend you seeing it. It's on Netflix. I think it was made for Netflix, because I don't recall that it made it to the big screen.
Yeah, it's a Netflix movie. Awesome.
Okay, Keith, what do you got?
Wow. I saw a couple of good things, but I watched a movie called Close. It's another Netflix movie. I forget the name of the people in it. The one lady who was the main star, she's been around. She's not real famous, but she was in the military over in the Middle East. She's very smart, very savvy. She's a tough fighter. She gets into the bodyguard business, and there's a young girl in Europe, a beautiful young blonde girl who lost her mom at an early age. Then her father recently passes, who owns this company that everybody's after, and he leaves the bulk of his money to her, not her stepmom, and her stepmom hates her, and the girl just lashes out. She likes to get drunk, and she's sleeping with her bodyguard. The bodyguard leaves, and they say, get a bodyguard she can't sleep with, and that's when they bring the main character in. And she's one tough chick, and of course, they're at a safe house one day because she's about to sign some papers, and somebody overrides the security system, and military people break in to try to kill her. And it was a really, really good movie. It's called Close. It's a Netflix movie. I think you guys would like it.
Okay, very good. Well, I caved in. Peyton's been watching it. It's got a lot of buzz out there in social media. I started watching it the other day on Netflix. 10 episode series, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story.
Ooh.
I tell you what, I can handle it in doses, like maybe 2 episodes or so at a time. This thing is, obviously we all know the Jeffrey Dahmer story. It's definitely part of our generation in the early '90s when all that came out. It was probably the most shocking thing that maybe we heard and maybe we'll ever hear again. Just the stuff he was doing was really so dark and demented and everything. I tell you what, this puts you in the story. You are there. You feel it. You feel the poor victims. It is something else. I don't know. The acting is Evan Peters who played Quicksilver in the Marvel movies, X-Men movies, is terrific as Dahmer. Go ahead.
It was the hardest thing he's ever had to do to play that role.
I imagine. And also Niecy Nash.
Niecy Nash, yeah.
Niecy Nash is
I don't know what's scary in that movie, the gruesomeness of it, or Niecy Nash without makeup. I tell you, man. Woo!
I tell you what, she plays Glenda Cleveland. It was his neighbor, and she is superb in this as well. So the two alone, the acting performances of those two alone is worth watching this. But again,
I don't know if you guys know number three. Her cousin was the first victim of Dahmer's.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So
did not know that.
Yep. Matter of fact, when I came back from basic training between tech school and my first duty station, they actually had a funeral for Steve. That would have been May of 1993. So, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
We're Northeast Ohio. Jeffrey Dahmer grew up here around here in Bath, Ohio, which is not far from where we are right now, actually. So anyway, that's all I'll say. It's dark, demented, but well acted and very, very interesting story in its own right here. Okay, enough of that. Pop culture headlines here, guys. Here, so we did have a death in the world of pop culture music. Last Wednesday, Coolio passed away at age 59. So certainly most known for his songs Gangsta's Paradise. That was a total white guy saying Gangsta's Paradise. Dangerous Minds. He was in the film Dangerous Minds, and also the hit Fantastic Voyage. So definitely some songs that in our generation, if you were out in the bars and clubs when we were in our 20s, you probably definitely heard a lot of Coolio at that era. Very talented guy. It's a shame he passed away. So Keith, any thoughts on Coolio, sir?
Yeah, I won't mention Fantastic Voyage because that was a remake.
Okay.
But Gangsta's Paradise being original, he's an example of, you can just get that one song. And of course he had the great combination of not only it being a single, but soundtrack to a popular movie as well, which I'm sure helped a lot. Of course, Michelle Pfeiffer clips in the video, all that helped. But that one song set him on a path. I was telling my sister, I was seeing all these people, putting up memes and stuff about Coolio when he passed. And I said, I'd like to ask him, name me one song outside of Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. But you know what? That's the one that's what people endear to him for, that one single song. You get a right hit at the time, you'll be set for life.
Yeah.
But I love, it was a great song. It's got a great feel to it. And he seemed like a pretty cool dude too, you never heard him talking stupid or acting stupid or anything like that. I've always liked the guy.
Yeah, very good. Skinner, thoughts on Coolio?
I don't know much about him. I know he's pretty class guy, I guess, to say. He wasn't Flavor Flav. During that same time, they were polar opposites in the same genre of music. So I guess that's the best way to describe it. He wasn't Flavor Flav.
Yeah. Had the wild hair, braids going out.
Yeah.
But he seemed pretty cool.
And his most famous song became a parody of Weird Al. Became one of his most famous songs as far as was it Amish Paradise, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and of course you have to get permission to do all that type of stuff. So I don't think he was thrilled with that at first, but it became a hit, and I think he warmed up to it over time. But yeah, so rest in peace, Coolio. There is a new series starting out on AMC, Interview with a Vampire. So it's basically expanding on the stories from Anne Rice. So it kind of takes the movie, which was certainly huge, also in like the early 90s for us. To me, it doesn't make any sense to redo any part of that because the movie was so good, in my opinion. But the series can definitely expand upon the storyline and do a lot more with it. So I don't know. Keith, what do you think about them doing a Interview with a Vampire series? Are you interested in this, or I've seen the movie and that's plenty enough for me?
Couldn't care less.
There you go.
I couldn't. I do want to say this though about Coolio real quick. If I can go back for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know, but whoever sang the chorus in that song should be given a lot of credit. I think he made that song Bill's rap. Just want to put that out. Yeah, I could care less about the interview for Vampire and making it a series. I watched the movie when I was younger. Sometimes leave well enough alone.
Okay, Skinner, what do you think?
Not my bag of chips. I don't watch any of those vampire movies.
Okay, well, there you have it. And Keith's review of that, some have reviewed our podcast in the very same. So couldn't care less.
Maybe so.
Yep, that's it.
I got
All right, so the Daily Show has definitely been a pop cultural icon on Comedy Central, with Jonathan Stewart hosting that show for many years. Of course, others did prior to Jonathan Stewart. But Trevor Noah has been doing it now for 7 years, and he has announced he is leaving the Daily Show. I don't really watch that show. It's not because it's I don't know, the political themes, I'm fine. But I tell you what, every time I see him on anything, he hosted the Emmys not that long ago, or was it the Golden Globe? He hosted something recently, Trevor Noah. Might have been the Golden Globes. But my point is, every time I see him, he's a very smart comic. His humor is on point. He has a very good delivery. I just think he's a talent. I don't watch him enough, frankly. I should watch him more often on The Daily Show and other things that he does, honestly. But yeah, so it's just a great run for him. I'm sure he's going to continue to do great things out there in the world of comedy. I would assume he's probably getting a deal to probably do his own show. I don't think it's said here, but it would not surprise me if you see the Trevor Noah show somewhere coming out here very soon. So, Keith, are you a Trevor Noah fan, sir?
I don't think if we'd have wrote down our responses to this, mine would have looked exactly like yours. I've never watched it. I remember when I seen him, I'm like, who's this guy? Where did he come from? And he was such an anomaly, because here's this black guy who looks mixed with a British accent.
Right.
Or English. I was like, what? He was just, who is this dude? But I've never watched the show, but I've seen so many clips on the internet or TV. He's incredibly funny, incredibly charismatic, and I've seen him into some incredible debates. He is really, really smart, too. And then I watched him do a stand-up, man. He's like ultimately talented. He's used this show to really pivot himself into mainstream media, and I hope he, takes another step up. But I really like Trevor Noah.
Yeah, very good. Skinner, Trevor Noah fan, or not so much? You don't really know him?
I know who he is. I don't watch the show like you guys, but I've seen stuff. Very articulate. I'm like Keith. Mixed African American male with a British accent. It just throws you off. But when you sit and listen to him for a while, he is very, very smart and very on point, like you said.
Yeah, there's not a lot of shows that you think about, except for maybe some of the big talk shows like the Tonight Show and stuff like that, to where a replacement host replaces an icon, really, in its own right, and continues to have very, very strong success. Doesn't happen very often, but he definitely did that in his reign of his run on the Daily Show, for sure. So,
guy, and he's got a hilarious stand-up on Netflix. Check it out.
Okay, definitely will do that. It's just a little feel-good article caught my eye. Steve Burns, who is the original host of Blue's Clues. Now, that was certainly beyond our time, but our kids probably watched, or some of our kids anyway, probably watched Blue's Clues in their time. So we probably had Steve was probably in a lot of living rooms of our generation for many, many years, I'm quite certain. And he is getting his first live-action movie, so it's like a family adventure. Blue's Big City Adventure takes Blue, so the dog Blue, and his current host Josh. So they're kind of blending him in, so they're bringing him into this. So I don't know. I just saw some pictures. It just looks a very family-friendly movie. No surprise to see Steve in a movie like that. So I just thought it was pretty good. So Keith, did Steele watch Blue's Clues growing up? Was he a part of your life growing up? What do you think about Steve on Blue's Clues, sir?
We all have kids around the same age.
Yep.
I know, as a parent, a lot of times there's a lot of stuff you have to watch that drives you insane. But if it keeps that kid quiet or whatever, you keep it on. Still didn't want to do anything but watch Blue's Clues, and I fell in love with that show. I thought it was so different and so unique, and I was so upset when Steve left. I love Steve. I thought he's fantastic on that show. I'll never forget, I was going through JCPenney's one day, and there it was, a thinking chair for us, and I couldn't wait to buy it and bring it home for Steele, and he never got out of that chair. I mean, it was an exact replica. I thought it was a fantastic show, and I'm glad to see him coming back.
Very good. Skinner, thoughts on Steve Burns, Blue's Clues?
Same sentiments. Yeah, the kids are big, huge Blue's Clues fans, and Steve he kept it interesting for the adults at times. It was. But better than listening to Barney. I couldn't stand that show. Not to get off topic, but yeah, Steve Burns was. I'm glad to see he's doing something.
Yeah, you're right, Skinner. One of those shows I hated, but Blue's Clues is great.
It's right around a year ago today where he came back out. He hadn't seen him in the social media in some time, but he came back out and released that video. You might remember. It was just Steve did. It was just kind of like, "Hi, how are you? I'm fine." Go back and watch that. I mean, if there's a lot of people, our generation and in younger, they grew up with him. It was very nostalgia, and it was just making a lot of people cry in a good way because it was so nice to see him, and he was so kind, and I'm doing okay, and I hope you guys are fine, that type of thing. So go back and check that out if you would like a feel-good moment. Go ahead.
I thought you were talking about Barney. I was about to say, no, that was just
No, Steve. Okay, so this week, guys, in pop culture history, October the 2nd, all the way back in 1950, so certainly before our time. However, this was definitely a part of our childhood and beyond. The very first Peanuts comic strip debuted in 1950. Charles Schulz, and then over the years it became printed in 2,600 newspapers and translated in 21 different languages, and it ran all the way through original strips through February 13th, 2000. So he did that for many, many years. Every single one of them were hand-drawn by their creator, Charles Schulz. Obviously, they had various specials that are still very, very much a part of our generation growing up. The Halloween special, obviously the Christmas one is huge, and other stuff out there. So Thanksgiving's even semi-popular. But the Halloween, the Christmas ones, every year, man, I took time out, and they're still, as we know, they're aired every single year. Somewhere you can find those if you don't already own the DVDs, frankly. So just Peanuts in general. I'll tell you, in my time now, around the house here, my uncle had books upon books of the old Peanuts strips here. So when I'd come over here to visit my grandmother, I eventually found those and started reading the original strips. I tell you what, if the original old classic strips are some of the very intelligent humor, they kind of maybe lost its way over the years a little bit, but it just was a whole different feel and vibe, and Charles Schulz definitely portrayed a lot of emotion that he was probably feeling, or they felt other kids were probably feeling too, into those characters, into those comics. And he himself was Charlie Brown. He said that in many interviews and stuff like that. He battled depression and everything else. That's how he felt, was Charlie Brown. So anyway, so I was a big fan of Peanuts growing up. It was certainly huge, and tons of specials and toys and advertising campaigns and this and that and the other. So Keith, what do you think about Peanuts? Were you a fan of Peanuts characters and all that? What's some of your favorite stuff, if so?
As a kid, I think we all were. You spoke the word nostalgia a little bit ago, and I mean, nothing says nostalgia like all those specials. Every holiday, there was some sort of Peanuts special that just spoke to you. And I think that's the way it was done. It had the constant piano playing real low up underneath. And, of course, there was this tie. You felt sorry for Charlie. So you wanted to see Charlie Brown win. Just win one, man. I don't care if it's with a girl or kicking that football, or just give the kid a break. You get older, and it's like, wow, there's a lot into what these kids were going through or what they were portraying. But yeah, I loved it as a kid. I loved the specials. I loved the comic strip. I used to read the comic strip in the paper. And I think one thing I would want to know right now, is it us, Gen Xers, keeping it alive, or does the new generation like the Peanuts too? I would love to know the answer to that.
I know for me anyway, Peyton watched those specials. I introduced those to her growing up because I liked them so much. So I think they've carried on a little bit in that respect. I don't know if they're ever going to be as popular as when we were kids. That's just my opinion. Skinner, what do you think?
No, I think I agree with you. I think Charlie Brown not ended with us, but it is fading into the sunset with us. I'd hate to wish I was wrong, but I don't know. But yeah, no, Charlie Brown, that was a household name, of all of us. Every Saturday morning, the Saturday paper or the Sunday comics rather, I was looking for the Peanuts strips, and as an adult, I always felt like Charlie Brown kicking that damn football, especially after getting divorced 3 times. It was one of those things where I'm always missing the target. But no, with that being said, it was a great comic strip, and everybody looked forward to it each and every week.
Yeah, he's a lot of those characters are relatable in some way. You probably either fashion yourself as one of those characters in some respects, or somebody that reminds you of Lucy or somebody like that. I don't know. Probably a lot of kids, I'll tell you what, you probably show a lot of kids even today, Snoopy and some of the popular kids, they probably know who it is. They probably could tell you who it is. And Keith, I think about you sometimes there too, as I know you're a religious man. That Christmas special, I'm not overly religious person, but I'll tell you what, that one of the very few holiday specials, they don't edit it, they don't touch it. That scene with Linus when she says, "What's the meaning of Christmas?" He gets on that stage and has a very beautiful speech about it tells the story of Christmas, and it's silent and echoey and all that. They don't touch that. And I just think that's a nice, beautiful. If you're, if that's your, religious beliefs or whatever it is, but that's a nice thing that they put out there every holiday season, and don't attempt to touch it.
Yeah, very good stuff.
All right, another iconic character show debuted October the 3rd, all the way back in 1955. Definitely part of my mornings for many, many years growing up here. The Captain Kangaroo show debuted. That show ran from 1955 on CBS for nearly 30 years, all the way to 1984 December. That show ran. So I used to enjoy Captain Kangaroo. Bob Keeshan was just a very good, solid children's show, like Mr. Moose and Mr. Green Jeans and Bunny Rabbit and all that stuff. Very popular in its own right. So I was a huge fan. Keith, what about Captain Kangaroo?
Yeah, I love that show, and because he showed Hercules cartoon, or sometimes Superman cartoon. So I was really, really big fan of Captain Kangaroo. I thought he was totally different than maybe Mr. Rogers. Had more of a different personality, but great characters on there. You mentioned Mr. Green Jeans. That was just a very, very popular character. Just that name. That was a kid's name, Mr. Green Jeans. Anything like that resonated with children. Why the Cat in the Hat books were so popular. But yeah, it was a great show.
Skinner, did you watch Captain Kangaroo in your time, sir?
That's one of those Saturday mornings that I was never around to watch, unfortunately. But yeah, I do have memories from it.
I think this was a daily. Wasn't it a daily show?
Was it? I thought that was
in the morning, like before school time, wasn't it? Like before school.
Okay. Like 8:30 a.m. or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
7:30. I don't know, but very early.
I won a drawing contest locally in Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. There was like a bicentennial drawing contest. You had to send in a drawing, okay? And I was one of the winners in the local area, and they showed my drawing on local television for like 2 seconds. And I was told they were also going to show it on the Captain Kangaroo show. And I thought that was such a huge thrill. And I don't remember watching. I'm sure I did. I don't remember exactly watching it, but I just remember the thought of my drawing being on the Captain Kangaroo show as a kid was just a huge thrill because I used to watch him all the time. So there you have it.
Pretty neat.
Before becoming part of a global podcast empire, my art was out there for the viewing pleasure on the Captain Kangaroo show. Yeah, how about that? Okay, in 1972 here, guys, ABC aired the first after-school special, and we talked about them. It was Hanna-Barbera, known for cartoons and Yogi Bear and all that stuff. We watched tons of Hanna-Barbera cartoons in our own right. I don't really remember watching these so much after the after-school special. I'm sure I did a little bit here and there, but obviously they touched on a lot of subjects, from drugs and all. That was definitely a show intended to try to teach kids lessons and watch out for things and so forth. So not really my thing personally. I was probably watching like Lost in Space reruns or Little Rascals reruns and crap like that as a kid. But Keith, were you ever a viewer of the ABC after school specials?
Yeah, I love those. We used to watch them a lot. They're very good. They touch on some very serious themes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the one having to do with the pregnancy or something that kind of brought it down, or sex, that really touched the nerve. I remember hearing, there was a lot of controversy in the news, but I really love those. I thought as a kid, it really hit on some older type stuff, and I thought that was so intriguing. But I remember watching those a lot.
Skinner, the after school special.
Yeah, I remember those. My sister used to look forward to them, so I remember her, just being a year younger than me. So, but like Keith said, they were very intriguing stories. They did teach a lot of lessons for older criteria that we were intrigued on.
Like preteen type age sort of deal.
Yeah.
I think we were young for them. I was too young, obviously. But I watched it and I was just like, wow, this is deep. So I don't think it was meant for kids at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Keith, if Skinner would have paid more attention to some of those after-school specials, then maybe some other parts of his life might have been a little different. Might have been a little different. I don't know.
Probably
I'm
not.
Not so sure. No. Okay.
They say you're supposed to learn from your mistakes. Remember?
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, before we wrap it up here, guys, Keith, do you have any announcements out there, sir?
No announcements. The calendar's still clean for now.
Okay. Very good. So I'll say, keep listening and watching me. Thank you, sir. Keep watching, listening me on the listening me. You have me doing it. Yeah. I'm listen and watch me on my other podcast with Dean and Nick. Convincing Idiots, podcast platforms, also the Boss Code Media Network and YouTube for pop culture fun. That's what I got. Skinner, any announcements, sir, before we take us out, sir? Keith, you've got something. Go ahead.
Thank you to both of you guys plowing through this show. I know you're not feeling well. Good job, and it's really appreciated, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Skinner, go ahead, sir.
Got nothing. Just gearing up for a couple busy weekends with holidays coming. No. So for Brian Fisher, Keith Porter, I'm Michael Skinner. Guys from Gen X, we appreciate you. We will see you next week.
Stay strong, Gen X.
Stay something.
Right.
This is Keith Porter here at Porter House from It Came From GenX. We hope you've been enjoying the show, but please make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.